Is there value in putting yourself in someone else's shoes? Can economics help you win a poker tournament? Economists address and explore these types of questions using game theory. I'm Professor John List, and this is Economics for Everyone. Welcome to the world of Chicago economics, and today we're going to talk about game theory. But before doing that, I want to list a few things on my mind, and I want you to think about what is their common thread. So when I was in high school, there was a Cold War between the United States and Russia. When I played soccer and when you watch soccer or play soccer yourselves, what is the strategy between the penalty kicker and the goalie? What about giant retailers, Amazon and Walmart? How do they interact? What about at a smaller level, the interplay between two gas stations that are located near each other in your town? Now, these might seem like very different situations, but the thread is that game theory can help us understand them and can help us understand that if you're in one of these situations, game theory can help describe your optimal actions. Now, game theory deals with any situation where the outcome of your action depends critically on the actions of others. Now, I want to begin with a famous game called the Prisoner's Dilemma game. You and your partner, Josie Wales, rob a bank. But on your getaway, you're caught. And you're taken to the police station. Now, the police aren't sure if it was actually the two of you who committed the crime. They place you in separate interrogation rooms. The detective outlines three options for you, and she tells you that Josie is getting the exact same three options. If neither of you confess to having committed the crime, you are both looking at jail time of 2 years. If one of you confesses, but the other holds out, the confessor goes free, and the other serves 10 years in jail. Now finally, if both of you confess, then jail terms will both be 5 years. What should you do? This is something that game theory can help you think through. Because in these situations, your payoff, that's your jail time here, depends on not only your choice, but also the choice of Josie. There are three elements to this game. The first one is the players. The players, of course, are you and Josie. The second element is your action set or your strategies. In this case, it's either you confess or you hold out. And the third element of the game is what are your payoffs? Now, economists can take all of this information and put it in a payoff matrix. You're going to choose the row that you're in, and Josie chooses the column. Now, let's use a little game theory to try to figure out what is your optimal course of action. I want you to, first of all, block off column 2 or Josie's holdout column. So once you block that off, you are effectively putting yourself in the shoes of Josie and saying, I know she's going to confess. So if you know that, you are either choosing row 1 or row 2 in this first column. If you choose to confess as well, you both get 5 years in prison. If instead you choose to hold out, you get 10 years and Josie walks free. So now your decision is very simple. What do you prefer? 5 years in prison or 10 years in prison? Of course, 5 is better, so you choose to confess. Now let's go the other way around. And let's say we block off the confess column for Josie. Now what this means is that you are certain that Josie is going to hold out. Again, if you confess, you're released. You're off scot-free. If you hold out as well, you both get 2 years. So again, in this case, if you know Josie will hold out, you want to confess. In both of these cases, when you blocked off one column or blocked off the other, regardless of what Josie did, confess or hold out, you had a dominant strategy, and that was to confess yourself. A dominant strategy is the best response to every possible strategy of the other player. And in this case, that's why it's called a prisoner's dilemma. Because even though the bottom right corner is kind of better for everyone, we only both go to jail for 2 years each. We end up in the top left corner because that's what's called a dominant strategy equilibrium. That means regardless of what the other person does, I'm going to always confess. And you know Josie will do the same because she is also a game theorist. So in the end, we end up in this bad equilibrium of confess, confess. Now you might be thinking, okay, this is pretty cool stuff. How can we apply this in the real world? It's ubiquitous. Think about Uber and Lyft. Uber and Lyft are the two main rideshare companies across America. They are always making decisions, for example, about how much to advertise. That could be a prisoner's dilemma game. Should I advertise in this market? My returns to advertising will depend on whether the other is advertising. What about pricing? Say I'm Lyft. I used to be the chief economist at Lyft. And we would always talk about, well, if we lower the price a little bit, how do we think Uber will respond? A lot of times what happened is we lowered the price and then Uber lowered it a little bit more. And you got in this spiral where we had really low prices. And then of course, in the end of the day, Lyft and Uber hardly make any money because we're in this kind of a death spiral in that we're competing on prices. Think about policymakers. Think about politicians. When they're trying to get elected, they are constantly considering, what is my main rival doing? And how should I position myself to get the most support from the voters given what my rival is doing? Should I go a little bit to the right? Should I go a little bit to the left? This is all a matter of game theory. Game theory is everywhere. Game theory is in our family. Game theory is anytime we bargain, anytime we have competition between firms, anytime we're negotiating with our parents about, I want to stay out till midnight tonight. It's a game theoretic exercise between you and your parents. Game theory is about being able to see the world through the eyes of others, understanding what are their incentives, what are they trying to optimize. Once you understand that and understand the basic structure of game theory, you're going to make the world a better place, and your world will be better too. That's economics for everyone.